Hello, Chattanooga. You're listening to AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Clutch with Keon Rose here on Nooga Radio. Make sure to check us out, by the way, on our website, noogaradio.com. There are many different ways that you can be listening on the website, on the air, and on YouTube, where we stream all of our local programming live, including this show, Clutch with Keon Rose. Search Clutch with Keon Rose on YouTube, and you'll find my face and my Wizards shirt and what the inside of our studio looks like. Looks like a madhouse. Looks like a madhouse. And that's mostly because it is a madhouse. It's a madhouse of ideas. And whenever something happens, in large part, I think about the issue at hand, and then it gets my mind working on a number of different topics and a number of different ideas. And so I saw today that Arkansas, they agreed to play a home-and-home with Notre Dame in 2020 and 2025, which I think is really great for both schools, right? Especially for Arkansas, because Arkansas, and I learned this lesson as a Texas fan, but like when you play Notre Dame, even when Notre Dame is bad, right? Like even in a season, like last season, Notre Dame wasn't good, but Texas got a lot of brownie points for beating Notre Dame anyway. When you beat Notre Dame, whether or not Notre Dame is good, whether or not Notre Dame is a hot, steaming pile of garbage, it doesn't really matter because they're Notre Dame. You're beating a brand, right? It's like if I took on Nike and won. Even if Nike had a down year, it wouldn't make a difference. I beat Nike, right? When you're beating Notre Dame, you're not beating a school, you're beating a brand. And there are very few schools in college football that can say that. Probably Alabama, Notre Dame, USC, and Texas would be the schools that you beat them, you're beating a brand. And actually, Texas has gotten so bad lately that when you beat Texas, you just beat Texas. I don't know what to tell you about that. But when you beat Notre Dame, even when they're bad, that's a quality victory to a lot of people. So I do like Arkansas getting Notre Dame on the schedule here. And I learned a lot of interesting things about this, that there should be and probably could be a rivalry here between Notre Dame and Arkansas, as they both share exactly one legendary head coach, Lou Holtz. What's the Dan Patrick impression of Lou Holtz? Well, it's just so good. It's just so good. Lou Holtz, right? They both share Lou Holtz as a guy in their history, which I actually did not know that Lou Holtz coached at Arkansas because I'm not an Arkansas historian. But Lou Holtz, 60-21-2 record at Arkansas, and he coached at both Notre Dame and Arkansas. So I figured like there's a whole lot of history between these two schools, but they've never played each other, right? There's some shared history, no shared history involving actual football games, which I found to be deeply fascinating. So when you're trying to get this thing started, there's a lot to market here. There's a lot to market between those two schools. Here's my issue, though, with this game, right? There's a quote from Brett Bielema about this game, about the home and home in 2020 and 2025 between Notre Dame and Arkansas. And the quote from Brett Bielema, who is my favorite SEC coach, goes as follows. Ever since I became a head coach, I've wanted to get Notre Dame on the schedule. And when it became a possibility, we were 100% in on getting a home and home done. I'm excited for our program, but I'm also excited for our fans to experience a game at Notre Dame and then come back and show what an amazing home atmosphere we have. And that is a great college football quote. That is a great college quote, right? He said everything good, nice, and positive about this matchup. And Brett Bielema is one of the 5 coaches in sports who will tell you what he's thinking, and it's actually true. Like Brett Bielema is the anti-coach speak coach. So I don't believe that he is playing any of this up for our benefit. But we do still have something to address here, which is is Brett Bielema going to be coaching at Arkansas when this game comes around? I'm just saying, 2020 is a long ways away. It's 2017 right now. And Brett Bielema, while I think he has done a really good job of recovering from the John L. Smith years at Arkansas, I think that he's coached enough talented teams, right? You keep finding 2,000-yard rushers where you have multiple 2,000-yard rushers on your team and you're still not winning in your conference and you're not coming close and no one's considering you to be a contender. No one considers Arkansas to be a contender ever. That's disappointing when you consider how good Arkansas has been offensively. And we know how good that they've been offensively when you see that they can find a running back to fit their system whenever. They've had Austin Allen, who in my opinion has been the best SEC quarterback of the last 2 seasons. To me, it's him. It's easily him. It's not even close. And he'll be the best SEC quarterback again this year. Right? Like, we're all expecting Austin Allen to be the best quarterback this year. So you're going to have the best quarterback, right? You're going to have, once again, a solid running game. Not everything that you wanted, obviously, because of certain tragedies, but you were going to have a good team. And no one is talking about Arkansas for the upset. We're not talking about Arkansas to even really push Alabama, LSU, Auburn. If you had to rank the SEC West, it would be Alabama, LSU, Auburn, and then maybe we might start talking about Arkansas. That's our problem, is that they are grossly underachieving based on the amount of talent that they have. And this is the best team that they've had under Brett Bielema, and the fact that we're not even considering them to win the West, right? And I understand that there's a level of foolishness that comes with assuming that anybody not named Alabama is going to win. There is. I'm not saying assume that. I'm saying we're not even having the conversation at all. This is inherently problematic. But there are different coaches, and we're all ranked on a list here, right, of who is the least fireable head coach in the SEC to the most fireable head coach. Because all of this stuff will determine whether or not by the time Arkansas even gets to play Notre Dame in 2020 and or 2025, whether Brett Bielema will be a part of that exchange at all, right? Like, he may have always wanted to play Notre Dame, and he might never get that chance to play Notre Dame. Very, very easily. So I have the hot seat discussion, because that's all we talk about this time of year, is who is most likely to actually return to the next season of college football, in large part because everybody's trying to catch Nick Saban. And so, like, this makes the college football market in the South a little bit more volatile. Like, we see this happen in other sports. We see it happen in the NBA, where the Warriors have become, I think, in the NBA's version of Alabama. They're just too dominant. They look too good. And now everybody's scrambling to catch them. And it's causing everybody to be unreasonable in a variety of ways that maybe they normally would not be. And that's caused the entire NBA to become more volatile. Everyone's taking bigger risks, making bigger moves. That's the way it is in the SEC always, because Alabama's here. That the level of pressure it takes to try and catch that school, to try and knock off Nick Saban, the level of pressure that takes, it mounts every year, and coaches that might otherwise have longer leashes have shorter leashes, because people want you to win and win right away. And if you don't prove that you can win right away, you're gone, and we're on to the next one. So I have scientifically, by the way, certified this. I have scientifically approved this list. This is my official hot seat discussion list. And I have divided all the college football coaches into different tiers. And depending on what it is that you've done, that's the tier that you fall into. So number one is Nick Saban. Nick Saban is number one, and the only head coach in the never gonna happen tier. What's the never gonna happen tier? Never gonna be fired. Okay, we're never firing Nick Saban. Like, I went to Saturday Down South, SEC Sports Blog, which is, I usually like it. I disagree with the top article on there today, though, which is by Keith Farner, which is essentially what is the least or the fewest amount of wins that a coach can have this upcoming season? What do they need to do so that we don't worry about their job? Listen, Nick Saban could win no games next year. 0. He could goose egg next year, which isn't going to happen. I'm just saying he could goose egg next year, and he'd still come back. We'd wonder what was wrong with him. We'd have a ton of questions. But you have to give that guy the benefit of the doubt. He's been so successful. Nick Saban could goose egg next year. You wouldn't think about firing. You wouldn't, because who wants to be the person that would fire Nick Saban and then say he finds another job and then continues winning? Well, then, now don't you look stupid? Nick Saban's unfireable. The only person in the never gonna happen tier. The next tier is the house money tier, where you've got a lot of coaches. They are safe because they either achieved very well last season or achieved beyond expectations last season. That is the house money tier of coaches, in which we have Ed Orgeron, Hugh Freeze, Dan Mullen, and Derek Mason. Derek Mason has been building up Vanderbilt, had a good season last year. He's built up a lot of equity. He could have a down year next year, not a horrible year, right? He couldn't goose egg, but he could have a down year next year, and Vandy would still bring him back. Ed Orgeron is another guy. He came in for the fired Les Miles, coached admirably, coached well, won a lot of trust and respect at LSU, and he's got a little bit of leeway, right? This is his first year with his new offensive coordinator, Matt Canada. Matt Canada, who every time we talk about Matt Canada, we got to mention that Matt Canada says bang a lot.
Bang, 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 bang. Bang, 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 bang. Bang, bang, there we go. Bang, 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 bang. Good job. Bang, bang. Woo, there he goes. Bang, 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 bang. Oh, not bad.
Yeah, first year of that guy. First year of Matt Canada as the offensive coordinator, Bangmaster Canada. And he's going to have to adjust as well. We're going to have to adjust to this new system. We have still kind of a deficiency going on at quarterback. I understand that he's not, I don't think he's as bad as people say, but we still have a deficiency going on at quarterback. So I think Ed Orgeron has gotten himself a little bit of leeway there. Dan Mullen is a guy that I really, really think is he's overachieved at Mississippi State. Every year, we don't have anything bad to say about Mississippi State, and it's very hard to come up with a good reason to hate on that school. And we thought certainly they were going to have a drastic downturn in a post-Dak Prescott Mississippi State, and in fact, they've continued on winning, and now they've got Nick Fitzgerald, who's going to be a very good quarterback for them, and there's no reason to believe that school slows down at all. Jim McElwain is also in the house money group because he's done a lot at Florida with not a whole lot offensively. He hasn't had a quarterback consistently. The offense has been up and down. I don't think that any of that is his fault, right? He just hasn't had a quarterback. And despite all of that, he's won the East 2 times and looks like he could probably win it again. This year, he actually does have a quarterback. The hopes are high for Florida fans and Jim McElwain. So, yeah, he's in the house money tier. And, of course, Hugh Freeze is in the house money tier. Even though Hugh Freeze has not actually been coaching very well, it does not actually matter because Ole Miss has decided they like Hugh Freeze. They've just decided it. And since they've just decided it, who am I to fight them, right? You could fire Hugh Freeze for any number of reasons, from underachieving as a coach to bringing all of these NCAA violations to the school that was already struggling through NCAA violations. But instead, he's still coaching. So whatever it is that he's got in terms of house money, whether he's blackmailing somebody or whatever it is, he's still going to be there. The next tier down is the upon further review tier. Coaches that are doing well for where they're at. People are skeptical of them, and we're going to need to see more of them before we make up our minds as to whether or not we like them. Kirby Smart at Georgia, Butch Jones at Tennessee, and Barry Odom at Missouri, are all those coaches. Now, for me, I think there's different levels of it, right? Like Barry Odom, people just want to see what he's got going on with with a year that's normal, right? Like, can Barry Odom coach this team without all of the controversy and without all of the questions left in the wake of Gary Pinkel retiring? I think Barry Odom is a good football coach. I think he can turn around the ship at Missouri. Time will tell, but giving him a normal season to work with seems absolutely fine to me. Butch Jones is also in that upon further review spot because we're disappointed very frequently by him. But if you ask me, is Butch Jones a bad football coach? I can't honestly answer that question. Yes. I don't think that he's a bad football coach. I think sometimes he's too conservative. I think sometimes he does not take enough risk, but I don't think that Butch Jones is a bad football coach. Yes, I do actually think Tennessee can win with him. The question is, will they? And how long are they willing to wait to see if that is actually true? Butch Jones in the upon further review tier. And finally, in the upon further review tier, Kirby Smart, who first year at Georgia, I thought it went pretty well. Again, you've got a freshman quarterback. You've got, sure, offensively, you're sound, but you still got to get your defense in there. He's got a heck of a recruiting class, so that building up this roster is going to be huge. I think that the big questions for Kirby Smart are actually going to come for him in year 3 and year 4. In year 2, I just don't see anybody turning on him fast enough. And we still have to see if Jacob Eason is the real deal. Look, I think that Jacob Eason is the real deal. I think that he makes the leap this year, but he's a good quarterback. Last year, he threw a lot of ducks. And it was not necessary. He's going to have to fix that for Georgia to be successful, and I don't think that necessarily sits at the feet of Kirby Smart. In the next tier, it's the take it up another notch tier, in which Brett Bielema is the only coach in that tier. You've been doing fine. You've been doing solidly. Take it up another notch. Take Arkansas to another level. Because, I don't know, can Arkansas fans stand another 8-win season from Brett Bielema? Can they actually withstand another 8-win season where, when you look back at the schedule, they could have won 9 or 10 games? And is Brett Bielema that kind of coach? Because not every coach is the coach that can kind of transcend their station. Sometimes with coaches, you have the guy. When you find the guy, you keep the guy. Nick Saban is the guy, right? Phil Jackson is the guy. Vince Lombardi is the guy. And sometimes you have the guy before the guy. You have the guy that fixes the team. He changes the culture in the locker room. He makes things look a little bit nicer. He maybe gets a team that wasn't playing defense to play defense, to be a more cohesive unit, but that's as far as he goes. That's as far as he's ever going to go. And I don't know if Brett Bielema is the guy before the guy, but he's going to have to prove it to Arkansas this season. The next tier down is the do it again tier. Mark Stoops, Will Muschamp. I think that they exceeded expectations last year, both of them. A lot of people were calling for Mark Stoops' job. He wound up winning 7 games. Will Muschamp was able to get South Carolina to 6 in a season where no one saw that coming. And now everyone just wants to know from either of these coaches, can you do it again? If you can do it again, we don't have any problems with you. I think the regression might look a little bad, especially for Kentucky, because Mark Stoops was already on the bubble previously. But again, I think that both of these guys are in a pretty good spot. And the last tier, the lowest coach, the lowest of the low, the man most likely to be fired in the SEC is Kevin Sumlin. Right? This house is on fire, tier coach, and he's the only one. Why? Because his athletic director already came out and put his job on notice. Because every year Texas A&M wins 8 games, and Kevin Sumlin does not have the excuse that some guys have. He doesn't have Ed Orgeron's Danny Etling excuse. He doesn't have Jim McElwain's Austin Appleby excuse. He doesn't have the quarterback excuses that many people in the SEC have. Kevin Sumlin has been blessed more often than not with talented quarterbacks. Whether it was Trevor Knight last year, should have gotten it done. Whether it was Johnny Football before, Johnny Manziel, should have gotten it done. And underachieved every single time, usually in the second half of the season. I find it highly doubtful in a year where their team is reloading and retooling, where you don't have the talent that you had previously, that Kevin Sumlin returns after this season at all. The question here is, does Kevin Sumlin even make it through this season? Because if it starts off looking bad for the Aggies, Kevin Sumlin might be out of here. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
Body found in Etowah has now been confirmed to belong to Kelsey Burnett, a teenager who went missing on July the 1st. Her body was found on July the 4th. Now the police are on the hunt for her killer. She disappeared under mysterious circumstances. The TBI is investigating. A single vehicle car crash on Stanford Gap Road has claimed the life of the driver. The family's not been notified yet, so the identity's not been released. High water levels and strong currents swept away some 40 kayakers in Commons Falls State Park. All 40 were rescued except for one, a 73-year-old woman who was swept away. She's not yet been found, and the water is too dangerous to continue the rescue operation. The pilot of the plane that crashed in Murray County, claiming the lives of 4, was overdue for a medical exam, according to the FAA. 4 people died in that crash, including a husband and wife and her 2 young grandchildren. Deputies said the plane looked like it disintegrated in the air. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
A few lingering showers and thunder showers possible through your nighttime, diminishing after midnight, muggy, some late fog, low 70 to 73. For Friday, could see a morning shower, otherwise a little dry for the afternoon with some sunshine, highs upper 80s, with highs back into the upper 80s for the weekend. Now at CC's, bring the party home with 3 medium one-topping pizzas to go for just $4 each at participating locations for a limited time. Purchase minimum of 3 pizzas now at CC's. And I'm Machine 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr on Nooga Radio AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Hi, this is Eric Pelton. Taxes, accounting, business advice. I've got a neat brochure, 12 ways to improve your business profits. Come on by for a free consultation and we'll give you a copy. E.J. Pelton Company, 332-3339.
I have the best steak selection in town. Name of the business is Don's Meat Shop, and I'm Donnie Raines. Just ask for Donnie. I make over 20 different types of sausages. Most of them are great for grilling. We have the best selection, best quality. We have the hard-to-find items. Don's Meat Shop.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Clutch with Keon Rose at AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Look, I'm not in the business of telling athletes, or anybody for that matter, what they should do with their money. I think that that's disrespectful. I don't presume to know what anybody ought to do with their money, what anybody should do with their money, right? I often tell teams what they should do with their money to efficiently acquire players, but that's all a basketball conversation. That's not a money conversation. I don't talk about my money with everybody. I don't want to talk about somebody else's money. I don't want to tell them how to live their life. So I found it very foolish that Rob Parker was on Colin's show today, and he was just over besides himself, right? With the idea that Kevin Durant took less money to make sure that his team stuck together and that he's basically providing welfare for all these owners. Because instead of driving the market, he's deciding to take less money. And I think that I don't even know where to begin with how foolish this idea is, that somehow he's providing welfare for the owners by not driving the market. He plays in a salary capped sport, which means if we're going to refer to things as being socialized, the game is already socialized by there being a limit on how much money richer owners can spend on a player than can poorer owners. So the idea that Kevin Durant is taking below his market value and that's somehow ruining the league and ruining the money of other players, we still live in a world where Otto Porter got the max. We live in a world where Gordon Hayward got the max. And this is a world where Chris Paul is attempting to get the max. And Chris Paul is not where he once was athletically. Like Kevin Durant is being paid below market value, but so is everybody. Everybody's being paid below market value, right? Like all the Warriors are being paid below market value. And to which point you might say, well, how come Steph Curry got all of his money? Steph Curry got the $205 million. Listen carefully. Steph was underpaid early. So Steph's not giving any money back. And they better not ask for it. Steph was already tragically underpaid for his market value, for what he turned out to be, for the game changer in this league that he turned out to be. He already was underpaid. He wasn't about to give any money back. And you could say, yeah, a player could step up and demand that an owner pay the luxury tax. You can. But if you don't have to, why? Kevin Durant has a $300 million shoe deal with Nike. Why does he have to? He's fine. Financially, Kevin Durant's set. He's okay. He's going to make it. This is not a Latrell Sprewell, I need to feed my family situation. Okay? But Kevin Durant's going to survive. And if he takes less money to do so, that's fine. By the way, he can still go for the max. He couldn't go for the max this offseason, but he can go for the max next offseason, by the way. If he signs for as much money as he can sign this year, it would be less than the amount of money that he could sign next year. If he opts out again next year, having played for the Warriors for 2 consecutive years, Kevin Durant can ask for a max contract if he wants to. So he actually stands to make more money if he waits a year than if he pushes for all of it this year. Rob. He'll be okay. Like this idea that somehow, how dare he decide to not get paid as much as he wants to get paid. This is how markets work. People make decisions for themselves, and then the market adjusts. Kevin Durant made a decision for himself. He valued something beyond money more than the money itself, which is a cost that everybody is making. When you move teams in the NBA, they have designed it. That if you want to leave the team that you were on, you would actually have to value something else more than money. Then Paul George is leaving Indiana because he values something more than money. Indy can give him the max. He didn't want it. Gordon Hayward left. He values something beyond money, whether that's a relationship with his former college coach who's now coaching the Celtics in the NBA, which is just a cool story. Like imagine if you had a teacher growing up in school and then that teacher became your boss later on. Like you had a favorite teacher and then that teacher became your boss and you got a chance to work for them. A lot of people would do that. Oh yeah, my favorite teacher growing up is working at this company. I'm going to go work for him. A lot of people would absolutely take that deal. That's all that Gordon Hayward did, which is something that, no, you can't put a price tag on, which is something that, no, may be worth more than $50 million to Gordon Hayward, who, by the way, still made $200 million. And moving to a bigger city means a brighter spotlight, means he has a chance to make up for this in endorsements, playing in the Eastern Conference Finals. Because the other thing that if you're Utah, you don't have any control over, it's not necessarily your fault. The Western Conference just got tougher for no good reason. You want to play in a conference finals? Go to the East. Go to the East. Why would you go to the West right now? It's historically loaded. The NBA is historically lopsided. Why would you ever go to the West right now if you had the chance to leave and you were a star player and you were considered the biggest free agent in free agency? Why would you go there? He took off. I would too. You get to play on a team with the second best coach in the NBA, whom you already have a personal relationship with a team that's already really good, in a conference that's already really weak. And the biggest obstacle to you going to the NBA Finals is LeBron James heading into year 15 doesn't last forever. And by the way, I think Gordon Hayward actually does give the Boston Celtics a legitimate chance. A legitimate chance to beat the Cavaliers. I might be the only person who thinks this, but I saw a Cavaliers team last year that could not defend the three-pointer, couldn't defend three-point shots. And the reason why they were successful, rolling through Indiana in the first round, Indiana can't shoot threes. The reason why they were successful, rolling through Toronto in the next round, Toronto can't shoot threes. And the reason why they were successful against Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals is that Boston could not shoot threes, and Cleveland was letting them have open threes. It was bad defense. Cleveland was letting them have open threes they were simply missing because the combination of Jay Crowder and Marcus Smart and Avery Bradley, not great three-point shooters. That's a bad combination of guys if you want a three-point shooting team. And I believe they used up all their three-point shooting magic against the Wizards in Game 7. I believe they used it all up. They didn't have anything left. And, oh, look. Now we're playing LeBron and can't hit threes. Except if you add Gordon Hayward and Isaiah Thomas is not injured the second time around, you do have a team that can make open threes, right? And make certainly enough to bother Cleveland. I don't know if they make enough to beat them, but you could make the legitimate case that this team could beat that team. They are better coached. No disrespect to Tyronn Lue, but Brad Stevens is a better basketball coach. Plain and simple. So Gordon Hayward increased his chances of playing in an NBA Finals. There's no nail here to say, well, he should always take more money. Nope, he shouldn't have to take more money. Durant shouldn't have to take more money if they value something else that's not money. Right? And I think that's hard for a lot of people to wrap their heads around because we don't traffic in the millions of dollars that professional athletes traffic in. Because I promise you, I take more money. Right? If I had to choose between one organization and another organization, I'm going to the one that pays me more. That's how I work. I'm not exactly altruistic in that way. Right? Like I could not take money to keep the band together, but I like money. It's nice. Right? It's nice to be able to take a girl out to dinner. It's nice to be able to buy whatever random thing you want. To not have to cap yourself all the time. It's a nice feeling. Money. But when you start to traffic in the millions and millions of it, it does get a little less important. It's not quite the priority that it was, especially if you're handling your money well, right? Like if you're investing it, if you're saving it, if you're putting it in a place where it's safe or where it's growing and appreciating, then you're okay, right? We're talking about guys that have shoe deals that are way more than their actual basketball playing contracts. The idea that this is just welfare for the owners, no, I do agree that there is welfare for the owners, and I would like to see welfare for the owners go, but it's called the salary cap, and it was created by the owners. So I'm sorry. It's not going anywhere. This run that we have where we blame the players for financial stuff that happens in the league, when time and again we already understand that the people with all the money are the owners. How are we still blaming the players for this? How's that possible? How's that possible? Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. I think that Gordon Hayward gives the Celtics a legitimate chance to beat the Cavaliers. And I was thinking about football because everything is connected in life. Okay. We talk about the economy, and we talk about government, and we talk about education, and we talk about science, and we talk about religion as though all of these things are separate. They are not separate. They are different avenues and different ways of understanding and looking at the world, but they're all connected to each other. You cannot have these things individual from one another. It's just not possible. Right? So whenever I watch basketball or whenever I watch the NBA, I think about football. I think about college football, the NFL, high school football. How are these things connected? And in the SEC, Jarrett Stidham, by the way, is the SEC's Gordon Hayward. He's the guy that's good. We don't know his track record of winning, right? Because Gordon Hayward hasn't won much. They've made the playoffs a lot, right? They got to the second round last year. And if I recall this last season, the person bailing out the Utah Jazz in crunch time, that guy wasn't Gordon Hayward. It was Joe Johnson. So we're still not sure if Gordon Hayward can be the guy. Not certain. We have some ideas, but we're not certain. And the same thing with Jarrett Stidham. Jarrett Stidham was at Baylor University. He had a pretty great string of games before he got injured, and so we're just not sure, like, how good is this Jarrett Stidham? How high is his ceiling? But he's being added to a team that is, in fact, very good, with a coach that is also incredibly good in Gus Malzahn, and a team that rules the conference in Alabama, that Auburn is going to have to find a way to overcome Alabama if they want to have a chance. And I don't think that maybe ultimately they will, but I think that Jarrett Stidham evens out this playing board probably more so than Auburn ever would have had the chance to the point where Gus Malzahn, whether or not he beats Nick Saban, whether or not Auburn is able to make the playoff, even without all of that, I think Gus Malzahn has got his job saved, right? Like if Gus Malzahn is able to win 9 or 10 games next year reasonably, he's fine. And there's no reason why he shouldn't. Now, if he does the unthinkable, and it would be the unthinkable, and starts Sean White over Jarrett Stidham, he's going to get canned. I mean, he's just going to absolutely get canned, and he's going to have to deserve it too. And he's doing the thing that coaches do where it's just like, well, we're not really certain. We want this to be an open competition. We want this to be an open competition between all our quarterbacks. Everybody's got to know that they're going to have to compete. Okay. Thank you, Gus. We want it to be an open competition. But let's be honest. If this was an open competition between a group of guys that you considered to be quality quarterbacks, if this was an open competition between a group of guys that you thought could actually win you college football games, there wouldn't be an open competition, right? Like if Sean White did any and or all of the things that you thought that he was capable of doing when you recruited him, you wouldn't have almost gotten fired last year going into the LSU game, a game where, by the way, Auburn wins on a last-second mix-up, and we had a moment where it was like, oh, LSU won. No, LSU lost. Right? Like Gus Malzahn was that away from not having a job already. If you thought you had the guy on the roster that could have won you college football games, you wouldn't need to have a competition. So yes, you've already chosen your quarterback. Yes, it's Jarrett Stidham. Why do coaches do this? Why do they mess with us like this? To what end? What do they gain out of this, right? Because it doesn't help your locker room culture that the guy we already know is better isn't already named the starter. We're just going to have this pretend facade charade competition. For why and for what? Right? And we did this last year, but the difference between this year and last year is that Gus really wasn't certain who the best quarterback on his roster was because they were all bad. Because they were all terrible. If you knew who the best quarterback was before Jarrett Stidham got here, there wouldn't be a quarterback competition. Right? Like that's not something that we're entertaining at Alabama. Jalen Hurts is the quarterback, right? And everybody likes Tua Tagovailoa. I'm sure I just destroyed his name. I destroy it all the time, every single day. I got to learn how to pronounce that. But everybody likes Tua. I mean, there are a lot of people. There are a lot of people that believe that Tua's got better arm talent than Jalen and is a better pocket passer. And they may be correct about all of those things. But Alabama believes that the guy that was the better football player was already on the roster before Tua got there, so we don't need to pretend like there's a quarterback competition here. That's usually how this goes. If you bring in a new guy, but you already believe that your current starter, your incumbent, was good, then he's the guy until some new development happens. That's how this works. When you have a guy that's already good, you don't open up a quarterback competition because that's confusing if you want to talk about things that are bad for your locker room culture. How about taking a guy, telling him he's the starter, and then telling him, no, just kidding, you've got to earn your job again? That's insane, and nobody else is doing it because nobody else does that, right? No one's doing that to Jacob Bentley. No one's doing that to Jacob Eason. Nobody's doing that to any of these guys. And the only place where that is happening, where that might legitimately be happening, is in Florida. And even then, we're not pretending that it's not Malik Zaire. Even then, we don't have Jim McElwain wasting our time by pretending that his starting quarterback, when the season starts, isn't going to be Malik Zaire. Because that would be silly. That would be absolutely silly. Possibly the silliest thing ever and a big waste of time. So why does Gus Malzahn feel the need to do this to us? Like, haven't you done enough in terms of ruining your reputation as a good coach? Because a few years back, we believed Gus Malzahn, this guy might be an offensive genius. That was our opinion of him. And now, dude, if you don't win, you're gone. Right? If you don't win, you're gone. You've got all the talent. This is your best team ever. Nobody wants to hear any excuses from you. And you've got the guy that's already your best quarterback. Why are you wasting our time with any of this? We know he's the best quarterback on your roster. Stop it. Just stop it. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Hi, this is Eric Pelton. Taxes, accounting, business advice. I've got a neat brochure, 12 ways to improve your business profits. Come on by for a free consultation and we'll give you a copy. EJ Pelton Company, 332-3339. This is Thomas DeMoss with Keller Williams Realty. I am a realtor in Chattanooga. We list and sell homes, work with buyers, work with home sellers. I have been involved in real estate for over 10 years. My background is as a real estate investor. That is what I bring to the table, is that real estate investor mindset. My job is to help you sell your house for the most money, employing the best marketing strategy and walking you through what can be a rather stressful process. So we are encouraging people who are on the fence or even thought about selling their house to give us a call. There's no obligation. We're just here to kind of have a conversation, let people know what the process is like, what the market is like, what values they can expect to receive. We work with buyers as well. I also have a buyer's agent that works exclusively with my buyers because we want to give our clients as much attention as we can. My cell phone number is 423-364-0028. Our website is northriverpropertygroup.com. That's northriverpropertygroup.com. We'd love for you guys to call us.
I've been a customer at SNS 14 years. It's way out of my way, but I'm well treated. I believe what I'm told. Price is reasonable. David Tulis here. Make an SNS appointment today. This week, get $50 off any 30,000-mile service or timing belt repair. And get a free combat knife as a gift. SNS Auto Repair specializes in Toyota, Lexus, Honda, Acura, Scion, Nissan, and Infiniti. 6-time winner of Best of the Best award in the Times Free Press. 855-3436. ssautorepair.net. 855-3436.
And now to our reporter in the field.
We asked Ray at Ray's Plumbing what's important for homeowners to know.
Some field line systems can cost upwards of $10,000. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road. I would definitely recommend everybody with a septic that is not on county or city sewer to have an inspection done by a qualified professional. It'd be great if nobody did inspections on them for all plumbing companies. That's what we do to make a living. Not to scare anyone, but it should be in the back of your mind. The danger is the field lines failing and costing thousands upon thousands of dollars and tearing your yard up. By preventative maintenance, you're saving yourself a large headache that may displace yourself and your family. That happens more often than you think. The waste is designed to stay in the tank, and that waste will build up over time. Even with treatment, we have to help that waste break down. Ultimately, preventative maintenance is the key that will keep you from spending $5,000 to $10,000 on replacing your septic system. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road.
Call Ray at Ray's Plumbing, 421-6341, 421-6341.
Are you looking for a gospel-oriented, covenantal, family-friendly Reformed church? Dayton Reformed Presbyterian Church is a body of Christ-centered believers gathering for worship on the Lord's Day from around southeastern Tennessee. Our congregation is reformational in its outlook. It has a traditional worship service regulated by the Word of God. Prayer, singing the Psalms, reading God's holy Word, teaching, preaching the Bible, the administration of the sacrament. Dayton Reformed Pres, committed to the authority of the Bible as the inerrant, infallible Word of God. As Westminster Confession of Faith directs every Christian, we aim to glorify God and enjoy Him forever. As a Reformed church, our purpose is teaching and preaching the gospel, making and training disciples of Jesus Christ, taking dominion for our Lord's sake by applying God's holy and perfect law to every area of life. We would be honored to have you join us for worship. Dayton Reformed Presbyterian. This Sunday morning at 11 at Dayton Community Chapel, 184 Mulberry Avenue, Dayton. Click DaytonRPC.org. Click DaytonRPC.org. 184 Mulberry Avenue, Dayton.
My name is Trevor Atchley. I'm an attorney here with the law firm McCoon, Williams, Atchley, and Stanley. We have a show on Nooga Radio called Legal Bites, where we discuss legal topics of interest to our listeners: estate planning, business formation, and business transactions. Legal Bites, 11 a.m. on Wednesday.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree? Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM, and 95.3 HD4. News, talk, sports. Nooga Radio.
It is Eric Jones hard into the outside wall, and they are still 3 and 4 wide. It looks like we're racing at Talladega.
Caution flag is out. It looked like Denny Hamlin was trying to get by Ricky Stenhouse. Got into the back of Ricky at the line. Man, that's a close one. Matt Kenseth wins stage 1.
Green checkered flag is out, and Brad Keselowski has won stage 2.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. into the wall. That will bring out the caution. Caution waving once again. And again, it's Dale Earnhardt Jr. involved.
Oh, trouble. Ty Dillon has gotten turned to the inside of the racetrack, and Clint Boyer has just nailed him.
Matt Kenseth falling back, the field storming by. Something wrong. Now we see sparks from Kenseth's Toyota.
Larson chucks him off, coming off turn number 2, nose to tail. Now it's Logano to the high side in 3.
Joey Logano, a winner here at the Richmond International Raceway.
Hear it live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM.
The voice of NASCAR.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
Body found in Etowah has now been confirmed to belong to Kelsey Burnett, a teenager who went missing on July the 1st. Her body was found on July the 4th. Now the police are on the hunt for her killer. She disappeared under mysterious circumstances. The TBI is investigating. A single vehicle car crash on Stanford Gap Road has claimed the life of the driver. The family's not been notified yet, so the identity's not been released. High water levels and strong currents swept away some 40 kayakers in Cummins Falls State Park. All 40 were rescued except for one, a 73-year-old woman who was swept away. She's not yet been found, and the water is too dangerous to continue the rescue operation. The pilot of the plane that crashed in Murray County, claiming the lives of 4, was overdue for a medical exam, according to the FAA. 4 people died in that crash,
WBLZ HD4 Udoa, W224AZ Chattanooga, WSDT Sunny Daisy Chattanooga.
Pentagon keeping watch on those now farther-reaching North Korean missiles.
The military remains ready, but this is purely diplomatically led.
The exiting head of the Government Ethics Office tells CBS News,
America should have the right to know what the motivations of its leaders are.
This is the CBS World News Roundup Late Edition. I'm Dave Barrett. From 2 days ago to today in Pyongyang, where there was a rally in celebration of the North's ballistic missile launch. South Korea showed its response by firing guided missiles into the waters off its coast. Over at the Pentagon, the defense secretary weighed in.
Any kind of effort by North Korea to start a war would lead to severe consequences.
James Mattis says experts knew the second the North counted backwards what was going on, but looking ahead.
I do not believe this capability in itself brings us closer to war, because the president's been very clear and Secretary of State's been very clear that we are leading with diplomatic and economic efforts.
North Korea, the #1 topic for the upcoming G20 summit in Germany. Demonstrators in Hamburg got off to an early start. As thousands hit the streets, Deutsche Welle bureau chief Max Hoffman saw plenty.
You know, in the beginning, we sort of had a festival atmosphere here, and then the whole thing got underway, and you could tell that there was trouble because you had a small group of usually young men getting all dressed up in black. This is what's called the Black Bloc, usually prone to violence, and they were at the head of the demonstration.
Protesters threw rocks. Security responded with tear gas and water cannons. Also covering in Germany, White House correspondent Stephen Portnoy. Tomorrow's the big face-to-face sit-down between Presidents Trump and Putin.
The president has spoken 3 times by phone with Vladimir Putin. Tomorrow he'll meet him for the first time. The White House hasn't said what issues Mr. Trump will raise, but the Russian side has indicated it will press the president to return the diplomatic compounds in New York and Maryland that were seized by the Obama administration. That move, along with the expulsion of 35 diplomats deemed spies, was a response to Russian hacking. In Poland, Mr. Trump said he agreed Russia did hack in the campaign, but he said other people or countries probably did too.
Stateside, he ran the Office of Government Ethics, but now Walter Schaub has quit. CBS with an exclusive. Juliana Goldman asked him,
Do you think the president and his family are using the office to enrich themselves?
I can't know what their intention is. I know that the effect is that there's an appearance that the businesses are profiting from his occupying the presidency. And appearance matters as much as reality.
The Dow lost 158. Now this.
With Quicken Loans, the outdated and complicated mortgage process is a thing of the past. Our simple process helps you understand all the details so you can be confident that you're getting the right mortgage. Take your mortgage to the next level and call 800-QUICKEN or go completely online with Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. No matter how you prefer to work with us, we've got what you need to get you through the mortgage process with ease. For 7 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. And for the 3rd year in a row, they also ranked us highest in the nation for mortgage servicing. Whether you're looking to purchase or refinance, now is the time. The rate today on a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.875%, APR 4.23%. Call 800-QUICKEN or get started online at rocketmortgage.com. Apply simply, understand fully, mortgage confidently.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org, number 3030.
Not far from Atlanta, in Loganville, 5 people stabbed to death in a home, including 4 children. Jewel Keys is a neighbor.
They would play in the front yard, ride their bikes together. So it's really, and my daughter's having a real hard time trying to understand it because she's only 7.
A woman who was the mother of the children killed has now been charged with murder. Shot and killed 1 year ago today during a traffic stop in suburban St. Paul, Minnesota. Philando Castillo.
Firearm on me. Don't reach for it then. Don't pull it out. Don't pull it out.
Castile did advise that officer that he had a weapon in his car. Today, Castile's mother, Valerie, joined Minnesota's Governor Mark Dayton. He's pushing to name a new police training fund after Philando Castillo.
I think with the proper training and being able to have a dialogue with a person, that you can come to a resolution
traffic,
where everybody
news, and
goes
information.
home.
Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240. Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news. Now.
Body found in Etowah has now been confirmed to belong to Kelsey Burnett, a teenager who went missing on July the 1st. Her body was found on July the 4th. Now the police are on the hunt for her killer. She disappeared under mysterious circumstances. The TBI is investigating. A single vehicle car crash on Stanford Gap Road has claimed the life of the driver. The family has not been notified yet, so the identity has not been released. High water levels and strong currents swept away some 40 kayakers in Cummins Falls State Park. All 40 were rescued except for one, a 73-year-old woman who was swept away. She's not yet been found, and the water is too dangerous to continue the rescue operation. The pilot of the plane that crashed in Murray County, claiming the lives of 4, was overdue for a medical exam, according to the FAA. 4 people died in that crash, including a husband, wife, and her 2 young grandchildren. Deputies said the plane looked like it disintegrated in the air. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
A few lingering showers and thunder showers possible through your nighttime, diminishing after midnight, muggy, some late fog, low 70 to 73. For Friday, could see a morning shower, otherwise a little dry for the afternoon with some sunshine, highs upper 80s, with highs back into the upper 80s for the weekend. Now at CC's, bring the party home with 3 medium one-topping pizzas to go for just $4 each at participating locations for a limited time. Purchase minimum of 3 pizzas now at CC's. And I'm Machine 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr on Nooga Radio AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
He stole out so much cash, such a huge mountain of cash, that he's become a national star. Rick Davis. You know the story. Cash, 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 and more cash. People can't believe it. They want to see it. And now Rick Davis has a new TV show. National TV, USA and Canada. He's got the gold and silver, diamonds and rings. You get dizzy just thinking about it. Rick's selling. Rick's buying. Cash, 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 and more cash. And now a mountain of cash catching the Hollywood spotlight. You know where it is. Brainerd Road, Rick Davis, Golden Diamonds. Cash, 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 and national TV cash. That's really big. Everyone wants to see it. Money flying out the door. Rick Davis is America's jeweler. It's better than Hollywood. It's right here. Cash, 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 and more cash. Rick Davis, Golden Diamonds, Brainerd Road.
You love me. You really love me.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree. Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM, and 95.3 HD4. News, talk, sports. Nooga Radio.
Hello, Chattanooga. You're listening to AM 1240, 92.7 FM. Watch with Keon Rose here on Nooga Radio and NoogaRadio.com and on YouTube. Search Watch with Keon Rose. That's 4 ways to find us. That's 4 ways to find us. So you have no excuses. None whatsoever. I have a tier system, which essentially is how I'm going to rank college football coaches from least likely to be fired to most likely to be fired. Okay. And I was thinking about this because Arkansas, they announced their home and home series with Notre Dame in 2020 is when they're going to play in Notre Dame in South Bend, Indiana. And then 2025, they're going to be playing in Fayetteville in Arkansas. So it's exciting. It's fun. Brett Bielema, it prompted Brett Bielema to wax poetic about always wanting to coach against Notre Dame. Quote, ever since I became a head coach, I've wanted to get Notre Dame on the schedule. And when it became a possibility that we were 100% in on getting a home and home done, I'm excited for our program, but I'm also excited for our fans to experience a game at Notre Dame and then come back and show what an amazing home atmosphere we have. To which I have to ask the question, how come Brett Bielema feels so sure he's going to be there when this happens? Brett Bielema is one of those coaches we got to keep an eye out on. I'm not saying he's on life support because they like him over there in Fayetteville. I'm saying we got to keep an eye on him. Right? Because here's how I figure the college football tiers to be. Okay? The never going to happen tier. Coaches we are never going to fire. There's only one person in this tier, that's Nick Saban. Nick Saban is the only person who has earned the right to not be fired. Right? There are 2 coaches in college football right now who, if they coached next year and won no games, you wouldn't fire them. Nick Saban's one, Urban Meyer's the other one. They're the only 2. They coach next year, they won no games. You'd still have to respect their resumes enough to be like, okay, that's just, I don't know what happened there. It's never going to happen again. Nick Saban and Urban Meyer could goose egg, and they'd be fine. Nick Saban's never getting fired. The next tier is the house money tier. Coaches who have built up a decent amount of equity that even if next year they have a slump or a down year, they're still good. They're playing with house money, right? They're not guaranteed to not be in trouble if they coach really badly. Like if they lose an alarming amount of games, they're not guaranteed anything. But if they win an average amount of games, they win 7 games, 8 games, they'll be okay. Like they should start to pick it up, but they'll be fine. In this tier, I've got Ed Orgeron, Derek Mason, Hugh Freeze, Dan Mullen, and Jim McElwain. And Orgeron, I think, speaks for itself. He just showed up. He did a really good job filling in for Les Miles after he got fired. And he brought in Matt Canada to be the guy that runs the offense. So that's going to take a little bit of time for that offense to develop. Matt Canada.
Bang, 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 bang. Bang, 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 bang. Bang, bang. There we go. Bang, 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 bang. Good.
That's Matt Canada saying the word bang a lot in an LSU practice. Matt Canada says the word bang a lot. And he's in charge of this offense, and it's going to take a little bit of time for it to get going, especially when you consider your quarterback's still Danny Etling. The struggles there, they're going to be a little bit real to start off with. Hugh Freeze isn't going anywhere. He's banned from basically postseason play of any kind. Hugh Freeze could win 4 games next year. They'd still bring him back. Ole Miss has doubled down on Hugh Freeze. They have decided that he is the coach of the future, and that's all there is to it. Never mind if we're not certain that Hugh Freeze is an actual good football coach. We have doubled down on Hugh Freeze. So whether or not Hugh Freeze is blackmailing somebody or what is not the issue here. Hugh Freeze, he's playing with house money, however it is that he managed to earn that. Dan Mullen has built up a lot of equity, a lot of really good seasons with Miss State, and he's continuing to bring in good quarterbacks. I said Nick Fitzgerald earlier. I meant Shea Patterson. At Miss State, I'm very excited about their quarterback situation, their offensive situation. I don't doubt Dan Mullen, right? He's been incredibly good for Mississippi State his entire time there. Jim McElwain in Florida, again, I think another one speaks for itself. Despite not ever having consistently a good offense or a solid quarterback, he's been able to win the SEC East not once but twice in years where no one expected him to do it. And now that he has an actual quarterback, might be considered a favorite to win the East. It's either him or Georgia, right? It's either him or Kirby Smart at Georgia. And Derek Mason, who's built up a good amount of equity at Vanderbilt as well. Vanderbilt's never going to be considered a college football power, but they contend, they compete in games. And look, you're not safe in a game against Vanderbilt. You play a low-scoring game against Vanderbilt, you could lose. Tennessee learned this the hard way last year. And I believe that Georgia learned that not a great way last year, right? So you don't want to have Vanderbilt hanging around you in a football game. They can beat you. And I don't think that that's something that Vanderbilt fans have actually seen and could have said consistently in a very long time. The next tier is the upon further review tier, where we just need to see more first before we really decide. Butch Jones is in there, even though a lot of people feel like maybe they have decided with Butch Jones. There are some people out there who are like, look, the jury's still out on this guy. Is he actually good? He did rebuild Tennessee football, but is it a this far and no further kind of deal? Or can Butch Jones help the Vols make the leap, win the East, maybe actually compete in the SEC title game in Atlanta? We'll see. Barry Odom is another one of those guys. It was a tumultuous year last year at Missouri. Barry Odom picking up the slack after Gary Pinkel retires, and it was a tough year. So Barry Odom, starting from scratch. Now we know what the deal is. Can Barry Odom help Missouri just be a solid football team, right? In the do it again tier, you've got Mark Stoops and you've got Will Muschamp, where they exceeded expectations, in my opinion, but we just want to see him do it again. Before you really trust him, you just want to see and make sure, can Will Muschamp get South Carolina to do this one more time? As the defense starts to look more like what his vision for a defense is going to look like. Can he do it? Can that offense continue to progress behind Jake Bentley, who now a sophomore, caught us all by surprise? I don't think anybody thought that as a freshman, Jake Bentley was going to be able to do any of the things that he did. But, yep, there it is. South Carolina playing good football, and Mark Stoops saved his job last year, went on a run at the end of the season, beat Louisville, beat a rival, and we all know how important that is. You get extra points for beating a rival and finishing with 7 wins, which is not something that I don't think anybody thought Kentucky was going to be able to do. Kentucky, by the way, put up lots of points on Tennessee. They didn't win that game, but boy, there was moments of doubt because they were scoring seemingly at will. So again, Kentucky They looked good last year. Can they do it again? And the only coach in the this house is on fire tier is Kevin Sumlin. And I actually did not put Brett Bielema on this list because Brett Bielema to me is in an interesting place, right? Brett Bielema could easily be in any of these tiers. Brett Bielema every year competes. You could say that he's in the house money tier. You could say that he's in the upon further review tier because we don't know how much further we can go with Brett Bielema. Is this as far as Arkansas gets? You could put him in the do it again tier, but Brett Bielema has been doing it over and over again for the last 3 or 4 years now. 8 wins doesn't seem to be enough for Arkansas fans. They want more. And Brett Bielema could easily be in the this house is on fire tier right there with Kevin Sumlin. All Brett Bielema has to do is fail to win 8 games. And all of a sudden, something that's decent goes from bad to worse. Is that Brett Bielema has been so consistently good that he's been able to build up any of the equity that he's got at Fayetteville at all. The instant that Brett Bielema slips, we've got problems. We've got very, very big problems. And that's why I ask. 2020 is that first game in the home and home against Notre Dame. And Brett Bielema is excited to be a part of this, and it is historic. They both share a long, storied football history, and they've somehow never played each other. And yet, they both have had legendary head football coach Lou Holtz coach their football teams, both to winning records, right? And to college football notoriety. So there's a lot of history here in between these two teams, even though they've never played. Is Brett Bielema going to get to be a part of that? Like, you can talk about how excited you are ever since you've become a head coach, that this is something you want to be a part of. But, you know, that doesn't mean you get to be a part of it. That doesn't mean that you get to be in on this history. That's all I'm saying. So Brett Bielema ranging anywhere from really not that fireable to very fireable. And I think that that's something when you underachieve from year to year, you put yourself in that position where we don't know what to do with you. And that's not a position you want to be in, right? Like when you talk about working at a company, and if your boss doesn't know you, that's a problem, right? If your boss loves you, that's great. If your boss hates you, that's not great, but he knows you exist. And why he hates you then becomes important. If he just hates you because he hates you, then I can't help you there. If he hates you because you're bad at work, I also can't help you there. But if he hates you because you're always getting on his nerves, you've got all these ideas, and you're pushing him to be better, and he's pushing you, that's not a bad place to be. Hate, love, but this middle place where your boss doesn't know you, that's a problem. Right? Like the first person to go is you. The person who's hated, but they're not messing up the locker room culture. You know what I mean? They're not messing up the culture that the boss has in mind. That's not a problem. The problem is when the boss does not know you. What do you do here? Yeah, if he ever asks you that, you're in trouble. And that's where we are with the Brett Bielemas of the world. And quite frankly, you could argue that Butch Jones is in that same place. What do we do with you? You're not bad. You're not great. Where do we put you? Right? One of my favorite verses in the Bible is where in the New Testament Jesus is talking about the church, and he talks about how there's going to be an era of the church that's neither hot nor cold. They're warm, so he spits them out of his mouth, basically. What are you? That's the worst place to be. Because if we're like, no, he's just a bad coach, or yeah, he doesn't have a ton to work with, even that goes a further way, because at least we know what to do with you, right? Like Kevin Sumlin, we know what to do with Kevin Sumlin. He getting fired. He knows Kevin Sumlin does not compete for an SEC title this year, that dude does not have a job this time next year. Not in this conference. Not as a head coach. So even he knows what he needs to do. And we're all on the same page. And then you got guys like Dan Mullen, who we like, Derek Mason, who we like, Jim McElwain, who we like, Nick Saban, who's unfireable. That is the preferable place to be, where people like you. We know you're good. We don't want to fire you because you're good. But you've got Butch Jones. We don't know what to do with you. We've got Brett Bielema. We don't know what to do with you. It's a bad spot. And Kirby Smart, I think Kirby Smart's got to win some games at Georgia next year. Otherwise, he's going to find himself in that same, what do we do with you category. Are you good or are you not good? Especially when you consider the talent that Kirby Smart's got. And when you've got Nick Chubb and Sony Michel, which is arguably one of the best backfield duos, and then you've got Jacob Eason at quarterback, who we all think is going to be great. We're talking about the next Matthew Stafford when we were talking about Jacob Eason. We all think he's going to be great. You will find yourself very quickly in that what do we do with you category if you underachieve, especially if you underachieve at Georgia, knowing the level of expectation that Georgia fans have for their football team. You don't want to be in that category. Touch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. So here's the thing that angered me very greatly. I was reading CBS Sports earlier, and there was a writer, and he was talking about Dirk Nowitzki, who is one of my favorite basketball players, especially growing up. I like basketball players that didn't play with a ton of speed and quickness necessarily, because I didn't play with a ton of speed or quickness necessarily. Dirk Nowitzki had that fadeaway jumper that, you go out to your driveway and practice that shot over and over and over again, and then realize that, no, it doesn't work quite that same way for you because you're not 7 feet tall. That's not an unblockable shot when you shoot it in your driveway. But it's one of those iconic moves that you're a kid, you go out there and you try it. So I understand the love for Dirk Nowitzki. I do. I get it. I used to live in Texas. I watched a lot of Dallas Mavericks games. Dirk Nowitzki, one of the best players I have ever seen in my entire life. And the writer of this article was basically saying that Dirk Nowitzki deserves to have the Kobe Bryant deal. That the last 2 years of Kobe Bryant's contract in the NBA, the last 2 years of that, when Kobe was a shell of Kobe, right? Not Kobe as we knew him at his peak, but Kobe, the old man. The Kobe, the old man, got $24 million, $12 million a year. That Dirk Nowitzki deserves that deal. And that's the most ridiculous thing that anybody has ever said. What do you mean he deserves the deal? Dirk Nowitzki doesn't deserve anything. Here are the things that Dirk Nowitzki deserves. Dirk Nowitzki deserves a basketball team around him that will allow him to compete. Dirk Nowitzki deserves for all the fans to love and care for him. Dirk Nowitzki deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Those are all the things that Dirk Nowitzki deserves. Monetarily, Dirk Nowitzki doesn't deserve a thing. And to be fair, Kobe Bryant didn't deserve the Kobe Bryant deal either. Dirk Nowitzki doesn't deserve a deal because the Lakers were stupid and paid Kobe $24 million when they did not have $24 million to pay him. Yeah, they set their entire franchise back. But mind you, Mitch Kupchak was still the GM at the time. Jim Buss was still running the team at the time with Mitch Kupchak. And that combination of guys is a knuckleheaded combination. Okay, we're talking about the same two guys that burdened the team so badly with bad contracts this year. This year, the Lakers are still dealing with contracts that those two knuckleheads put together, right? They're still trying to figure out what to do with the horrible Luol Deng contract. They're still trying to figure out what to do. Or they figured out what to do this summer with the Timofey Mozgov contract. They had to trade away one of their up-and-coming young players just to get Brooklyn to eat the Mozgov contract. That's how terrible it was. That in order to get that contract to go away, they had to give away one of their young, promising players for free. For free. These are the same two guys that made that deal. Okay? The fact that Dirk Nowitzki is taking less money to stick with the Dallas Mavericks ought to tell you that he loves playing for the Mavericks. But it also ought to tell you he ain't worth $24 million. He knows it, and the Mavs know it. And if everybody in the equation is on the same page, then let's not pay someone a delusional amount of money. Because in the NBA, these contracts that fill up your books, it can be detrimental, especially when we're coming into a league where we thought forever the cap's growing and growing and growing. The salary cap's going to grow every year. And then because we had so many sweeps and short series in the NBA playoffs, the salary cap actually went down. No, you don't want to sign horrible contracts. What are you doing? Why are you advocating for just pure stupidity? In the name of feelings. Don't make financial decisions with your feelings. Any financial advisor would ever tell you that. Right? Our guy Eric Pelton could tell you that very easily. Don't make financial decisions with your feelings. Are you insane? He is advocating that a business make a financial decision with their feelings. And that is, apart from being just bad business, crazy. Certifiably straitjacket crazy. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Nooga Radio and NoogaRadio.com.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
Body found in Etowah has now been confirmed to belong to Kelsey Burnett, a teenager who went missing on July the 1st. Her body was found on July the 4th. Now the police are on the hunt for her killer. She disappeared under mysterious circumstances. The TBI is investigating. A single vehicle car crash on Stanford Gap Road has claimed the life of the driver. The family's not been notified yet, so the identity's not been released. High water levels and strong currents swept away some 40 kayakers in Cummins Falls State Park. All 40 were rescued except for one, a 73-year-old woman who was swept away. She's not yet been found, and the water is too dangerous to continue the rescue operation. The pilot of the plane that crashed in Murray County, claiming the lives of 4, was overdue for a medical exam, according to the FAA. 4 people died in that crash, including a husband and wife and her 2 young grandchildren. Deputies said the plane looked like it disintegrated in the air. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
A few lingering showers and thunder showers possible through your nighttime, diminishing after midnight, muggy. Some late fog, low 70 to 73. For Friday, could see a morning shower, otherwise a little dry for the afternoon with some sunshine, highs upper 80s, with highs back into the upper 80s for the weekend. Now at CC's, bring the party home with 3 medium 1-topping pizzas to go for just $4 each at participating locations for a limited time. Purchase minimum of 3 pizzas now at CC's. And I'm Machine 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr on Nooga Radio AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Hi, this is Eric Pelton. Taxes, accounting, business advice. I've got a neat brochure, 12 ways to improve your business profits. Come on by for a free consultation and we'll give you a copy. E.J. Pelton Company, 332-3339.
I have the best steak selection in town. Name of the business is Don's Meat Shop, and I'm Donnie Raines. Just ask for Donnie. I make over 20 different types of sausages. Most of them are great for grilling. We have the best selection, best quality. We have the hard-to-find items. Don's Meat Shop.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
So here's the thing with assigning winners and losers to things for which there are no winners and there are no losers. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Not every situation provides us a clear, distinct winner and a clear, distinct loser. Sports exist for that reason. When you play a game, somebody wins and somebody loses mostly, unless we're talking about some special cases in football and soccer. In which case, yes, sometimes you will have ties. And even then, that is a definite state of being that is a tie. I know Americans hate ties. Yeah, I get it. But it is a thing. It exists. You can do it. It's okay. It feels bad, right? I'm a Redskins fan. Last year, the Redskins tied with the Bengals. It feels weird. I'd rather have lost. To be honest with you, I'd rather have just lost at that point. But we tied. Okay. That's one less L in the loss column, I guess. But it exists. A tie is a definite state of being. And when we're talking about off-season sports, right, we're talking about the NBA off-season and the NFL off-season and such a team's draft. And we talk about winners and losers in this thing as though every situation and every decision made causes you to be a winner and causes you to be a loser. And that's simply not the case, right? For instance, in a relationship, is someone winning? Is someone losing in a relationship? Presumably, you're both prospering. In an economy, is there a winner or a loser in an economy? There are losers for sure. People who go out of business, right? You start a company, the company just doesn't work, you go out of business. There are winners. There are people who start companies and you need to raise money to start it, but once you've got it started, now you're starting to make money. You're starting to make profit. That could be considered winning. But there are also times where both people have to do well for the relationship to work, right? Your insurance company wants you to continue making money. Your insurance company has a vested interest in you being healthy so you can make money. And you have a vested interest in your insurance company being good at being an insurance company, because when or if you get into a car accident or something happens to your home or you fall ill, you're going to need them there, right? You're going to want that. And nobody needs to be winning or losing in that relationship. You both want to do well, okay? When you look at movies, go to Hollywood. The worst thing that happened to the Western is that one Western flopped, right? The reason why superhero movies do so well is that regardless of whether or not it's Marvel or DC or Disney or Warner Brothers, when they're all doing well, everybody's making money. When everybody's just thinking superheroes, the whole genre does well. If one can flop, they all can flop, right? There's no winner or loser here. People who are watching superhero movies are not choosing Marvel over DC and just going based on quality. They just like superheroes, so they just watch them all, right? You're not choosing one over the other based on perceived quality. Not really. Everybody just kind of watches all of it. That's what the numbers say. So I prefer to think of things as trending upwards and trending downwards, which is to say that certain decisions that were made, whether they are in your control or outside of your control, are causing you to move closer, in the case of an NBA offseason, closer to your ultimate goal of competing for a championship, or moving further away from that goal of competing for an NBA championship. So the things and the teams and the people, in my opinion, that have been trending upward this NBA free agency have been the Oklahoma City Thunder, right? Because I saw someone say, oh, a winner of free agency is the Thunder. Are they a winner? They signed Paul George, who said he's leaving for the Lakers next year. And unless we know for a fact that he's going to change his mind, they didn't win anything. But they are trending upwards, right? They're moving closer to their goal of competing for an NBA championship. because giving Russell Westbrook another star to work with makes that team a more viable championship option. Now, I don't care what anybody says. You call that team a contender, you're lying. They can't hang with Golden State. Like, very few teams can, but that team still can't shoot threes well enough to hang. So I don't understand what the issue here is. So you've got that. You've got the Celtics, I think, trending upwards as well, adding Gordon Hayward. I think losing Marcus Smart is kind of a blow, but not big enough because Marcus Smart can't shoot. And Gordon Hayward gives them real range, gives them more star power, gives them a guy that I think gives them a shot Cleveland in a series. I don't think they ultimately beat Cleveland, but you can at least have the conversation now. And Boston, where I thought, they were one of the top 2 teams last year with just Isaiah Thomas. I mean, they're now firmly the second best team in the Eastern Conference, right? Leaving Toronto and Washington something in the dust. Washington and Toronto have spent a lot of money to simply be average still, right? Like Washington and Toronto are the 14th and 12th best teams in the NBA. And I don't think that that's exaggerating too much. They're somewhere around the bottom top 10. And that's not a great place to be because that means you can't legitimately win a title. But Boston's trending upwards. Miami is trending upwards. This is a team that started off last year horribly, absolutely horribly, and somehow almost made the playoffs. And then Dion Waiters became an actually good basketball player for them. And by the way, let me issue a word of apology to Mr. Dion Waiters, who opted out of his contract with Oklahoma City, went on the free agent market thinking that he was going to make something in the ballpark of $7-8 million, which we all knew was delusional for Dion Waiters. Ended up making $1.2 million, which we all thought was funny, right? The guy, this delusional guy, goes out to the market, bets on himself, and ends up losing money. Except now, after the way he played last year, he's made it all back. The Dion Waiters is now worth something in the ballpark of $14-15 million a year. So Dion Waiters pretty much doubled what he thought he was worth last year with the way that he played. And Miami's still, I think, getting him for a bargain. And this is a team, I think, that's going to make the playoffs next year and, quite frankly, make some noise. And no one's really talking about them because they just missed the postseason, right? Like, they just missed it. And I don't think they miss it next year. I think that they're a top 5 team in the East. And, of course, now that the East is way, way weaker, they're definitely a top 5 team in the East. But trending upwards indeed, and trending upwards, Dion Waiters' bank account. The Warriors are trending upwards somehow. How can a team that just won a title be trending up? They sign role players. They sign others on that team that give them the ability to continue to dominate you in ways that they were not able to before. Golden State, prolific three-point shooting team, greatest three-point shooting team in the history of the NBA. But their bench actually can't shoot threes that well. Their bench is very effective, and certainly whoever you root for, if it's not them, your bench is not as good as their bench. But they add Nick Young to that team, and it gives their bench the ability to shoot more threes. So now, when they're blowing you out with their starters and their starters sit down, they can continue blowing you out with their bench players. Well, you can consider that. So the rich really do get richer, and the Kings, the Sacramento Kings, who I would never, ever, ever have dreamed of putting on a trending upwards list in my lifetime, probably, because they've been that horrific most of my life. Ever since the post-Chris Webber Sacramento Kings have been that horrific my entire life, my whole life. And every draft, something alarmingly stupid happens, and you're just like, why did you draft him? They drafted Jimmer Fredette. Why did you draft him? They drafted Nick Stauskas. Why did you draft him? They draft De'Aaron Fox. They have a chance to draft his college playing mate, Malik Monk. What do? They trade out of the Monk pick and draft, I don't know, I can't pronounce the guy's name. European guy that maybe he's okay. I don't know. They traded away from the pick. Why did they do that? But they signed George Hill. They signed Zach Randolph. And all of a sudden, They can't compete in that conference. I understand that. They're probably going to still miss the playoffs. I understand that as well. But if you tell me that this is not a team that hasn't gotten demonstratively better as a basketball team by what they've done this offseason with De'Aaron Fox and George Hill and Zach Randolph, that's a better basketball team. And they are certainly trending upwards, much further upwards than they were previously. And I think that this is great because De'Aaron Fox is a player that I like, and I didn't want him to go to Sacramento and die a slow, painful basketball death, as people often do when they go to Sacramento. Trending downwards. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 on 92.7 FM, right? I'm reading the basketball market here. I'm reading it. Trending downwards. The Indiana Pacers, for obvious reasons, they lost Paul George, and not for much. They were able to get what? Victor Oladipo? Okay, nice piece. Doesn't get you any closer to a title, though, and in fact is a step backwards. No disrespect to Victor Oladipo, who I think is a good player. But that is a step backwards. The Jazz, step backwards. We lost Gordon Hayward, and it's not their fault. Here's the thing. It's not their fault. The market has conspired against them. The West has gotten tougher. The East has gotten easier. Gordon Hayward reuniting with his college coach. I mean, there's too many things that were working against Utah. I felt like we all knew that Boston was going to get Gordon Hayward. And Danny Ainge doesn't look nearly as stupid for not moving those picks for Butler and George now that he's got Hayward. Because if he didn't get Hayward, now you look really dumb for just hanging on to all those picks. What, you got nobody? Really? Yeah. But Danny Ainge, and our respect for Danny Ainge, trending upwards, actually. Trending upwards. Trending downwards. Actually, this is an up-down situation. Trending downwards is the Eastern Conference. The Eastern Conference as a whole has gotten weaker. The Eastern Conference since 2001 has only had a better record against the Western Conference once, and then it's never happened again. And the West is stacked. It's loaded. All the players you want to watch, they're out west. They're out west. In the Eastern Conference, who do you want to watch? Who is must-see television in the East? To me, John Wall is must-see television in the East. Isaiah Thomas is must-see television in the East. Who else? Now Gordon Hayward, I guess. And then always LeBron. Who's must-see television out west? Even the teams that can't make the playoffs are must-see television out west. Russell Westbrook is must-see television. Kawhi Leonard is must-see television. Paul George is must-see television. Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, the Warriors must-see television. Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum must-see television. I mean, must-see TV all over the Western Conference. Jimmy Butler, Andrew Wiggins, Karl Anthony Towns on those boys in Minnesota. Man, it's everywhere. Must-see TV everywhere. I even want to see the specific kind of way that the Clippers are going to implode. I even want to see that in the West more than I want to see most of the teams in the East. Now, the reason why this is an up-down situation is that trending upwards is, of course, everyone else that's in the top of the Eastern Conference. That conference got a whole lot easier. I mean, you don't really have to stress that hard about making the playoffs. Try reasonably every single night. You'll make it, right? Like, if you think that you hate watching LeBron rest now, what do you think he's going to do now that the East is a joke? The East is even more of a joke. But it's not going to be pretty. And trending downwards, my Washington Wizards. Trending downwards, and they're trending downwards for a very, very specific reason, which is that they have trapped themselves in NBA purgatory. They are good enough to compete in the playoffs, but never actually really see an Eastern Conference Finals. It's not a great spot to be in. But you don't want to burn everything to the ground, right? Like, nobody wants to become Orlando to try and rebuild this thing. How long has Orlando been rebuilding? How long has Phoenix been rebuilding? How long is all of these teams that we thought, okay, they're blowing it up and they're starting over, how long have they been rebuilding for? Even the Sixers, whose plan was inherently based around stockpiling draft picks and rebuilding, how long have they been rebuilding, right? And this year, will their rebuild mean anything? We don't know. How long have the Nets been rebuilding? You don't want to blow your whole team up and start over for no reason. But they had to sign Otto Porter to a lot of money, to more money than they wanted to sign him to, because that's what the market demanded for Otto Porter. He was a restricted free agent. He got to go out and ask for other offers, and then the Wizards got the chance to match the offer and re-sign him. which is exactly what they had to do. Had to go out there and match that offer. And it's a lot of money. It's too much money. But what else are they supposed to do? They don't get better from not signing Otto Porter. They don't have the cap space that if they let him go, they don't have the cap space to do anything else. So what do? They have to sign him back. And even though Otto Porter is a reasonable third banana for your team, it's still too much money for a reasonable third banana. They have to sign him to his max contract, and they have to hope that he becomes an all-star caliber player as well to join John Wall and Bradley Beal. Otherwise, they are stuck, and they are stuck in the worst way. And this is a labyrinth, by the way, partially of the market, but partially of their own creation. Their own creation. Because nobody made them sign no one made them sign Jan Mahinimi to that awful contract, and they did. No one made them sign what's the name of the guy? Andrew Nichols? I don't know. Some dude that they signed who has not played any seconds for them ever. Who can't make it off their bench. That guy. They're in a labyrinth of their own creation. They still haven't fixed any of their fundamental problems, which is that they can't defend their bench. Their bigs are getting old, specifically Gortat. Gortat is a good, solid player, but he is getting up there in age. And their bench is one of the worst benches in basketball. Haven't fixed any of those problems. So I don't know exactly where they go from here, but if you said that a team was taking a step forward or a step backwards from competing for a title, Washington, by nature, is taking a step backwards. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. And I'm not going to lie, I see a lot of the Tennessee Volunteers in that. Yeah. Brought it back around to college football. Why? Because I feel like Tennessee is in this purgatory where they are in the worst place to be, in my opinion, in the SEC. It's the thing I was talking about with Brett Bielema and Butch Jones and the what are you coach, right? That Butch Jones has essentially turned the team into a what are you team. Is Tennessee good or bad this year? Vegas has them winning 7.5 games. That's like the concession that we don't know if you stink. We don't know if you're good. You might win 8. You might win 7. Right? Like, of all the bets to take, that's the worst bet. That's the worst bet. Because if you take 8, Tennessee could win 7. If you take 7, they could win 8. And Vols fans don't want that. Here's what Vols fans want to know. That they're good. Right? That Tennessee football is back. And not kind of back. Not sort of back. They want to know that Tennessee football is back. Right? That the road through the East goes through Tennessee. And I think that there have been talented enough rosters in the last 3 years for this Vols team that should have been the case already. Right? I mean, you're taking a guy like Jim McElwain, who is winning with no quarterback whatsoever. Austin Appleby? Luke Del Rio? I mean, look, no disrespect to Luke Del Rio, but even when he was healthy, he wasn't playing great. Like, even when he was healthy, it wasn't like Luke Del Rio. This guy might be the class of the SEC. Luke Del Rio was an average quarterback when he was healthy. And I just think you're Florida, you can do a whole lot better than average, especially when you look at the basic design and build of the rest of that football team. Tennessee, if you're a Vols fan, you have every reason to believe you can do better than average. Absolutely. And what were you doing losing to Vanderbilt last year and South Carolina last year? And I think Vols fans want to know that they're good, right? That they do the things that good teams do, which is beat the teams on your schedule you're supposed to beat, right? You're going to have to upset some teams. You're going to have to make a wild and crazy comeback against Florida. You're going to have to make a wild and crazy comeback against Georgia. But then capitalize on that and beat South Carolina because they're there. Beat Vanderbilt because they're there, and you are better than them. You're superior to both of those schools in every way. There is no reason to lose either of those games. You're in football purgatory right now, and now you're in football purgatory, and you hope your quarterback's good. We don't know. Right? Quentin Dormady, we like him, but we don't know. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Remember, folks, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch, and I'll see you in 24 hours.
Hi, this is Eric Pelton. Taxes, accounting, business advice. I've got a neat brochure, 12 ways to improve your business profits. Come on by for a free consultation, and we'll give you a copy. E.J. Pelton Company, 332-3339.
This is Thomas DeMoss with Keller Williams Realty. I am a realtor in Chattanooga. We list and sell homes, work with buyers, work with home sellers. I have been involved in real estate for over 10 years. My background is as a real estate investor. That is what I bring to the table, is that real estate investor mindset. My job is to help you sell your house for the most money, employing the best marketing strategy and walking you through what can be a rather stressful process. So we are encouraging people who are on the fence or even thought about selling their house to give us a call. There's no obligation. We're just here to kind of have a conversation, let people know what the process is like, what the market is like, what values they can expect to receive. We work with buyers as well. I also have a buyer's agent that works exclusively with my buyers because we want to give our clients as much attention as we can. My cell phone number is 423-364-0028. Our website is northriverpropertygroup.com. That's northriverpropertygroup.com. We'd love for you guys to call us.
I've been a customer at S&S 14 years. It's way out of my way, but I'm well treated. I believe what I'm told. Price is reasonable. David Tulis here. Make an S&S appointment today. This week, get $50 off any 30,000-mile service or timing belt repair. And get a free combat knife as a gift. S&S Auto Repair specializes in Toyota, Lexus, Honda, Acura, Scion, Nissan, and Infiniti. 6-time winner of Best of the Best award in the Times Free Press. 855-3436. ssautorepair.net. 855-3436.
And now to our reporter in the field.
We asked Ray at Ray's Plumbing what's important for homeowners to know.
Some field line systems can cost upwards of $10,000. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road. I would definitely recommend everybody with a septic that is not on county or city sewer to have an inspection done by a qualified professional. It'd be great if nobody did inspections on them for all plumbing companies. That's what we do to make a living. Not to scare anyone, but it should be in the back of your mind. The danger is the field line failing and costing thousands upon thousands of dollars and tearing your yard up. By preventative maintenance, you're saving yourself a large headache that may displace yourself and your family. That happens more often than you think. The waste is designed to stay in the tank, and that waste will build up over time. Even with treatment, we have to help that waste break down. Ultimately, preventative maintenance is the key that will keep you from spending $5,000 to $10,000 on replacing your septic system. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road.
Call Ray at Ray's Plumbing, 421-6341, 421-6341.
Are you looking for a gospel-oriented, covenantal, family-friendly Reformed church? Dayton Reformed Presbyterian Church is a body of Christ-centered believers gathering for worship on the Lord's Day from around southeastern Tennessee. Our congregation is reformational in its outlook. It has a traditional worship service regulated by the Word of God. Prayer, singing the Psalms, reading God's holy Word, teaching, preaching the Bible, the administration of the sacrament. Dayton Reformed Pres, committed to the authority of the Bible as the inerrant, infallible Word of God. As Westminster Confession of Faith directs every Christian, we aim to glorify God and enjoy Him forever. As a Reformed church, our purpose is teaching and preaching the gospel, making and training disciples of Jesus Christ, taking dominion for our Lord's sake by applying God's holy and perfect law to every area of life. We would be honored to have you join us for worship. Dayton Reformed Presbyterian. This Sunday morning at 11 at Dayton Community Chapel, 184 Mulberry Avenue, Dayton. Click DaytonRPC.org. Click DaytonRPC.org. 184 Mulberry Avenue, Dayton.
My name is Trevor Ashley. I'm an attorney here with the law firm McCoon, Williams, Ashley, and Stanley. We have a show on Nooga Radio called Legal Bites, where we discuss legal topics of interest to our listeners: estate planning, business formation, and business transactions. Legal Bites, 11 a.m. on Wednesday.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree. Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM, and 95.3 HD4. News, talk, sports. Nooga Radio.
It is Eric Jones hard into the outside wall, and they are still 3 and 4 wide. It looks like we're racing at Talladega.
Caution flag is out. It looked like Denny Hamlin was trying to get by Ricky Stenhouse. Got into the back of Ricky at the line. Man, that's a close one. Matt Kenseth wins stage 1.
Green checkered flag is out, and Brad Keselowski has won stage 2.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. into the wall. That will bring out the caution. Caution waving once again. And again, it's Dale Earnhardt Jr. involved.
Oh, trouble. Ty Dillon has gotten turned to the inside of the racetrack, and Clint Boyer has just nailed him.
Matt Kenseth falling back, the field storming by. Something wrong. Now we see sparks from Kenseth's Toyota.
Larson chucks him off, coming off turn number 2, nose to tail. Now it's Logano to the high side in 3.
Joey Logano, a winner here at the Richmond International Raceway.
Here at live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM.
The voice of NASCAR.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
Body found in Etowah has now been confirmed to belong to Kelsey Burnett, a teenager who went missing on July the 1st. Her body was found on July the 4th. Now the police are on the hunt for her killer. She disappeared under mysterious circumstances. The TBI is investigating. A single vehicle car crash on Stanford Gap Road has claimed the life of the driver. The family has not been notified yet, so the identity has not been released. High water levels and strong currents swept away some 40 kayakers in Cummins Falls State Park. All 40 were rescued except for one, a 73-year-old woman who was swept away. She's not yet been found, and the water is too dangerous to continue the rescue operation. The pilot of the plane that crashed in Murray County, claiming the lives of 4, was overdue for a medical exam, according to the FAA. 4 people died in that crash.
WPLZ HD4 Etowah, W224AZ Chattanooga, WSDT Sunny Daisy Chattanooga.
CBS News, I'm Pam Coulter. The government ethics czar who repeatedly clashed with the Trump administration is calling it quits and heading to the private sector. Walter Schaub did his first interview with CBS's Juliana Goldman.
The specter of a conflict of interest is always looming out there.
Walter Schaub has been a unique voice. As the government's ethics chief, he's taken on his boss, President Donald Trump, publicly. But today, he gave up.
I really feel like I've achieved all I can achieve under the current circumstances.
He says that unless President Trump eliminates all financial ties to his businesses, the American people can never be certain his policy decisions are based on what's best for the country.
Following North Korea's launch of a missile that could reach Alaska, President Trump said